First cache I found in 1993 at the Great Flood River. Looking over the edge of the bank, about 4 foot down, this was sticking out of the bank, about like that. I couldn't reach it, so I went around, jumped around, waded in the mud, and when I was digging it out, this other point was laying right underneath it, just like this. Both well-made blades. This one's a better quality Just City chert. Kind of brown, caramel colored, little white in it. It's not heat treated, it's just the color of the chert there. This one's Just City chert, not the best quality. But they did a pretty good job with it. There was nothing else around. Now, like I said, there's like 4 foot down in a bank, which that area is flooded, thousands of years, and a lot of silt. There's all silt above it. Also in 93, it's up in St. Louis County. We were out in a boat checking on our gas pipeline, make sure it wasn't damaged by the flood or debris floating around in the flood. We beached the boat on a little high spot. I was going to walk over to the other side of the hill, and I saw one, I think it was this point, sticking out, the little wash area. And I walked over there, or got down there and looking closer. I could see the rest of these laying right there beside it, and picked them up, scratched around a little bit, and this blade was laying on the bottom. This is a Wabisa point made out of Burlington chert. This one also is a Wabisa made out of Burlington. I think these were made by the Hopewell people. This one, another point. I think it's probably a Wabisa, but looked to me like it had been snapped off, resharpened. You can see how it was resharpened from this backside. I had it out one day and I dropped it and broke this little flake off from it. You can see it's fresh looking. So what happens to the best of us, Brooksy? I had to throw that in there. This fourth point's Snyder's Point. Real thin, Burlington chert. I mean, it's like paper thin. I'm going to drop it and break it. And this knife, it's about 5.5 inches long. Pretty good quality chert up on the top, but this bottom's all chalky. It's got part of the cortex on the bottom even. And I'm not sure what type of chert this is. Could be a type of Just City with just some impurities in it. I don't know. But it's different than these other points. This third cache I found in 2009. Looked to me like they washed out of a riverbank. They just dropped into the water. They were amongst some, I don't know what you call them, grass. It looked like bamboo, about the size of a pencil. You guys all seen them. You break them open, they got water inside of them. But they were all laying in, caught in that grass. Luckily, that grass was there. They'd probably been washed down the river. You've seen this one point before. It's Jeff City Church. Beautiful caramel colored. The only place I find this type of church is up in that area. Well, that one found this point. But this is Oolitic Jeff City Church. A little different material. Still have the same color. Here's another piece of that Jeff City Church. Higher quality. These 2 points have been broke. Snapped the tips off. And you can see where the little imperfections in it, and I snapped it right there. This other one was snapped right here. I don't know what they were doing with them, but I use them as a knife. You also notice both of the bases on these are beveled, which is unusual for Etley points. That kind of tells me they were made by the same person. This one's got quite a bit of polish on it. So they were scraping with it or used as a knife. And they're both what we call stone square stem type of Etley. They got the square base, where this one's more corner notched. And the fourth point, the slide notch point made out of Jeff City Church. Looks kind of like Mozarkite, but it's not. Got some gray and black, little of that brown on it. Point looks like it's just made. It's pretty sharp. It's got some real sharp edges on the bottom. If you told me a flint knapper just made this, I would believe you. There's hardly any mineral deposits on it. In fact, hardly any on all these points. It also has flaking. It's kind of similar to this, if you look at it closely. So I'm assuming they were made by the same person, but I don't know. Etley people usually didn't make this type of point that I'm aware of. I think they do find some, but they're pretty rare. This last group I dug out. It was a shelter. It had a little bit of overhang, but it was a real long bluff line. And there was a hole in the bottom. I could just see the top of it. It's about a foot. I thought I'd dig down in there and see if I went back in the bluff, and it did. I dug it out and found these items back on a shelf. The hole kind of went straight in there, and then it went up. There was a shelf, had a pack rat's nest, and these were laying right under the pack rat's nest. There still was some dirt on it where water had come up, flooded it. It's in the floodplain. And as I dig it in there, I was saying in the dirt, these points I found down below it, a couple Afton points. Pretty point here that was been in the river, so somebody picked out a river and put it in that little hidey hole. A couple other points, stem points, a couple contracting stem points. This point's unusual. Base is broke. Looks like it's been resharpened to chisel tip. And one little bird point. So, but I found these below this other group, because this is the first piece of trigger awl made out of a deer ulna. Most of you guys know what deer ulna is. Some people don't. This is the foreleg of a deer. This is the ulna. This is the radius on top. When this bone is fresh and green, they're pretty tightly attached. You have to drive a wedge in here and break it apart. And they're quite long. They go all the way down, so you could have a pretty long awl if you wanted to. Found this trigger awl in there also. Both of these aren't real sharp. I don't know if they were used as a flaking tool. Put notches. You actually can cut the notches in or use it flake. Found this beaver tooth in there. Chisel end of that tooth is broken off or chewed off by a rodent. Found this other tooth in there. I think it's a woodchuck tooth. Looks a little big to be a muskrat. Had to be a big muskrat. Found this awl in there, corner notch. Real sharp, like it's hardly had been used. This other awl was in there, made out of a broken point. The base is broke, ears broke. Sharpened end awl is also pretty sharp. Found this little tool in there. Sharp tip on it. Really delicate flaking on it. This little piece has been snapped off when I was screening the dirt. It was stuck down in the screen and I wiped it with my hand and snapped it off. Found this little flake blade in there. Real thin, sharp. Found these antler projectile points. Got a little damage on it, but pretty nicely made. Another one, all hollowed out. Take a lot of work to hollow out a deer antler. This was also in there. Been chewed up by the pack rat. Not much left of it, just a tip. Found this little bone in there, deer toe bone. It's been hollowed out. Both ends, you can see through it. They would tie these on their dresses and make ticklers like little bells. And also they thought they might use a pin and ball game. Actually, it's not ball, just a pin game. They tie a little pin on a piece of bone or whatever on a piece of sinew and throw it in the air. Kind of like toys we had, which was a ball game when we was kids. We used the ball instead of a piece of bone. Here was another one. This is all chewed up too. Smaller than the other one, but this bone was in there. This is what it looks like when they're fresh. This hasn't been chiseled out or anything. And there was a couple pieces of hematite. It's been worked on this edge. A lot of hematite in that area. There's another piece. Been scraped on this edge. A little bit on top maybe. Pretty small pieces. You don't find them quite this small around there. And I guess that's about it. Anyone out there has a cache they'd like to show, I'm sure everybody would like to see it. So shoot a video of it, put it on YouTube. Guess that's about it. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.